I'm going to show you how to convert between different metric measurements. So first thing I'm going to do is just write down our standard unit, and then I'm going to label my prefixes. So Greek makes it bigger, so we've got deca, then we've got hecto, and then we've got kilo. Notice that if it ends in an O or A, it means of. So basically you have 1,000 of a metre. Here you have 100 of a metre, and here you have 10 of a metre. So this is going to be Greek, and then we've got Latin to make it smaller. So deci, that means we've got our metre split into 10, and that's why there's an I. Then we have deci, then it's centi, which is 100, and then we have milli, which means dividing it into 1,000. So the I means into, you're dividing it, whereas that A or O means lots of. Okay, so say for instance I had 50 metres and I wanted it into millimetres. I'm just going to move this down slightly. Okay. Now, 50 metres, and it has to go into millimetres. So a good thing to start with is, are you going to have more millimetres than metres? Well, we are, because they're smaller, so lots of those are going to fit into a metre. Now, millimetre's tiny. If I get a ruler, okay, that is just one small length here. So that tiny gap is a millimetre, okay? So there's 1,000 of those in 1 metre, hence why it's called milli, because milli means 1,000 in Latin, centi means 100, and dec means 10. Okay, so that means I'm going to have more. So if my object's going to get bigger, I'm going to times. And milli means 1,000. So I'm going to take my 50 and I'm going to times it, because I'm expecting more of them, and I'm going to times by 1,000. So that's going to give me 50,000 millimetres. Okay, so what did I do? I looked at my original number and the unit it was in, and then I compared it to the unit I want to put it into, and I checked to see whether I was expecting more or less. And if I'm expecting more, I'm going to times by my prefix. If I expect less, then I'm going to divide by my prefix. And the prefix is all of these words, because these are my prefixes. They're the ones that tell you how much of a metre or how many lots of a metre you have. Okay? And then once I decided on my prefix, I multiplied by what that prefix was worth. So I was changing from metres to millimetres. Milli means 1,000. Because I knew I was going to have more of them, I'm going to times. So I have 50 times 1,000, which gave me 50,000 millimetres. Okay? Right, next one. This is the one people always find really hard, is going backwards. So, say for instance, you had 67 centimetres and you wanted it to go into metres, okay? So what I'm going to do is decide if I'm going from centimetres to metres, am I expecting more or less metres? Well, centimetres are really small, whereas metres are really big, so I'm expecting to get less. So that means I'm going to have to do 67 divided by something. Now I'm going to look at my prefix, okay? I'm going from centimetres to metres, so I'm going to use the centi because there's a difference of 100 between them. So I'm going to do 67 divided by 100, which gives me 0.67 metres, okay? now I'm going to do a really hard one. So let's go from 648, sorry, can you just see that? Okay. So 648 centimetres to kilometres. Okay. Now, first thing to do, let's write out our original starting number. Okay. And then what's bigger? We're going from centimetres to metres, so we're expecting less, sorry, from centimetres to kilometres, so we're expecting less kilometres because kilometres are big and centimetres are small. So if I'm comparing 648 centimetres, which is exactly, well, it's basically 6.5 metres, that's going to be a lot smaller than a kilometre. So I'm definitely dividing. Now what I need to think about is what the multiplier is between centimetres and kilometres. So centimetres means 100 of something, 100 parts of something, and kilometres means 1,000. So these two combined, because I would have 100 to get to metres, and then I'd have to have 1,000 to get to kilometres, means that because I have two prefixes, I need to combine them. So here, actually, what I'm going to divide by is 100,000, because I've multiplied these two together. So now I'm just going to work out my answer. 6, 4, 8, and that's my answer. So 648 centimetres is exactly 0.00648 of a kilometre. And that's it. Job done.